Team, welcome back to another wicked episode of Briggs & Co. This week I brought on Jordan Gibbins. Yes, she is my sister, my oldest sister, who I admire and always aspired to even remotely come close to achieving the things that she has in her life. Everything from touring around the world on cruise ships to her experience as an assistant for conventions while pursuing her petroleum engineering degree at the University of Alberta. She also then went back to university to get her PR degree while she was a performer with Shanghai Disney. She talks about her experience in some of the outrageous auditions that she was a part of. She also talks about her entrepreneurship journey, launching her own entertainment princess live character company in northern, central, and southern Alberta. And then, of course, we talk about her most recent chapter in her life, which is motherhood, and probably my most favorite chapter of her life. Seeing her be a mother is a beautiful gift, and I am so grateful for the wonderful nephew that she has brought to me and my family. It was an absolute pleasure and a conversation that I will cherish near and dear to my heart forevermore. So I hope you enjoy this next episode of Briggs & Co., where we leave average for Joe.
Wait, let me see that. Check. Hi. Good. The reason why I'm late, decided to do a remodel.
Of your
The East Wing was looking a little crowded.
cubicle? Of your
Decor from
It's kind of
05?
like I can only see a coffee cup in the corner.
That's enough.
That's a good thing.
It reminds me, I'm trying to think of your Shanghai apartment.
Apartment.
You had 2 rooms.
2 bedrooms. Yeah.
Okay, I have 1 bedroom.
With a
I have
view?
1 bedroom, and it's a fairly big bedroom, but I like a place to do work, and I turned the kitchen table into my place to do work, which I don't love. So then I was trying to find a place to do work not on my kitchen table,
Fair.
and it didn't work out. And I'm going to pano you.
You weren't getting
Brace yourself. Because I can't fit it in the door.
Oh my god. So now you won't be able to get out or what?
I can't fit it in the bedroom door,
What
so
about right there?
yeah, here.
Yeah. Oh, gorgeous.
So much time to figure it out. Anyways,
Yeah. Okay.
on to brighter news. The States has Mojito liqueurs.
That's cool. To be fair, though, I'm not such a fan of sparkling water. Oh, I'm not your sister because Channing does too, and Mom was obsessed. And
Okay, this is a topic for discussion. I truly feel like I love a cold beverage. I love drinking aqua as well. It's called agua, I
I
think.
was gonna say aqua, so water.
I corrected myself.
Aqua, low.
I corrected myself.
Agua.
Channing, our sister, the middle child, and I had a conversation about how sometimes I just think it's an appetite suppressant for a lot of people.
Water?
The sparkling water.
Sorry. Sparkling water is an appetite suppressant
Like,
for some people?
it depends, because if I'm hungry and I feel like a meal isn't for another hour or something like that, I'll just have like a bubbly. And there's moments in my day where that's not why I'm having a bubbly, but like there's definitely moments in my day where I'm like, I'll just have a bubbly, and that carbonation will last until my meal, which is in like dinner time at 6
Maybe you
o'clock.
should carry around some of those like effervescent vitamins, so at least like you could get some vitamins in while you're waiting for your meal.
This isn't like a diet by Briggs situation, but I think there's something there.
It's an observation. Well, yeah, you feel bloated probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gas expands in your stomach.
Health and wellness.
By Leave Average for Joe, Briggs and Co.
Okay, well, sister, thanks for coming on. Um,
Hey,
I
you
don't
know,
hear I don't hear the little one in the background.
because he's napping. Although you might. I have his little monitor on, so I was going to preface with that. If
Okay.
he had just had his vaccinations the day before yesterday, so he's been having a little bit of trouble sleeping. So I have his monitor on, so if you hear a little something something, that's why.
Oh, so special, but so sad. I had a call with mom yesterday, 2 days ago, and she reflected on when we were like scratching at her chest, trying to
Fine.
get away.
Yeah, it's horrible. And I'm pretty sure the
Anyways,
parent also gets PTSD as well as the kid because that's horrible to watch. And I just don't understand why we have not, in today's day and age, come up with one needle that contains all of the things. So it's a one and done. No, we got to stab them 3 times.
do you think it's because we are introducing a bacteria or bug, and by adding so much that we would cause an illness for sure?
I don't think that I have the background nor the knowledge to comment. However, if I was to creatively think of answer to that question, some sort of along the lines of the the virus and or bacteria can't coagulate, cooperate, whatever, together before being injected. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't work. Something like that. Coagulate. Cool. The word
Okay,
something.
just to give listeners background, I had asked Jordan, who is my oldest sister, to come on to the podcast, and I've been meaning to for a while, that's the thing.
Oh,
Um, but shocker, I do too many things at once, and so I forgot. But here we are. We finally made it happen. So thank you for coming
oh,
on.
no, I'm honored.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, Briggs and Co. tagline leave average for Joe. And I honest to God, without even laughing at that, like actually, I was on a call with you or talking to you when I first came up with that tagline, which I think
Yeah,
is hilarious as well.
yeah.
Um,
I think
but
you got to go with that one.
yeah,
That's Briggs from the tip to the toe.
we could do so many rhymes with it.
Leave
It's
average
that's
for
why I did
Joe.
it.
From the tip to the toe. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. Keep on going.
No, I should.
And the reason why I bring guests on the podcast is obviously entertainment industry background, but entrepreneurship and just genuinely neat individuals that I just like chatting with. Um, and so I had dad on the podcast
Yeah.
too, and honestly, still to this date, that's I think number two, number one ranking one
Seriously?
on the show. It
Okay.
holds strong, and even I did a poll today on Instagram, and I was saying who's been the best guest so far, or favorite episode, and I've had so many people say you're one with your dad.
Yeah, he's a wicked human being.
Yeah, so and hence why I'm bringing you on, because there's not too many people on this planet that can speak to the topics that you can speak to. And so
Oh.
today, I had obviously mentioned it when I reached out to you,
Mm-hmm.
but you have entertainment background, but you also have a post-secondary education that is so unique and worth spending time on, because I know how rigorous and hard that chunk of life was for you. So I want to talk about that today. I also want to talk about your recent chapter, and my favorite probably chapter in your life, which is motherhood. Um, and we can always edit, we can always leave out topics as we go, and then a lot of it will also just be scatterbrain talking about things that come up as we go. So there's really no crazy layout structure that we have to follow, but there's definitely things that I want to bring up because your life so far is something that I've aspired to, obviously, as you know. Um,
You are
so
definitely.
if we can, which I normally do, is just ask the guest to give a little background, general outlook on your life so far, and obviously leaning a little bit more in towards the entertainment industry, and then your work there leading into whatever you want to lead into.
Oh, you want me to like just start from ground zero or?
Yeah, I think it would be important to lay out as much as you can background wise, just because
Sure.
I think that honestly says so much about the human being and why they are the way they are.
That's true. Um, I will give a little overhead. I'm not great at talking about myself, so I will do my best. Obviously, knowing that there is somebody listening that has no idea. So, I, way back, wee Jordan, just remember doing all the things. Um, Anything that I could do that my parents could get me to, which was pretty much everything, I did. But entertainment wise, started off with gymnastics. So I was a competitive gymnast actually until the age of 10. So I did gymnastics until 10, but I started dance at 9. Mom was like, there was like a demo piece of our gymnastics class, which was floor work, but more dancey floor work. And I just remember really enjoying that. So mom had, I'm not sure why, but she's like, well, do you want to try a jazz class? And I said, yes, absolutely, let's do it. And I remember walking into, at the time it was Shiloh School of Performing Arts. She brought me into the studio and was like, now the owner is also a mom of 4. She has 4 young kids. Very nice, like this, that, and the other. So I remember meeting the owner, which was Shiloh at the time, and I'm pretty sure her 2 little twins, which were the youngest, were running around the lobby. Um, and yeah, I tried my first jazz class at 9, and it was I can feel the rhythm of the night, dun, 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 dun. You know, okay. Homemade costumes, so great. Freaking loved it. Um, Next year comes around, mom and dad are like, okay, so can't do both. Uh, which one do you want to do? Gymnastics or
Was
dance?
that money wise? Schedule wise?
Probably like dance costs an arm and a freaking leg and maybe a left eyeball. Um, yeah, it's just a lot. So I'm guessing money, but also time because competitive gymnastics was. I'm not even gonna try and guess. I'm not sure. I was there multiple times a week, and then if I wanted to do more than just jazz, they were gonna start to conflict. So I think it was a combination of both. Yeah. So then that was tough. I remember being like, no, why? I'm like, don't make me pick. um, but I picked dance. I said, let's give it a go. And then at 10, I did my first jazz solo. So it was my second year of dance, but my first year of full time dance. So I did all things: the ballet, the tap, this, that, and the other. And I did my first jazz solo. And that was the power song, but in like that the Power Rangers. I just remember Power Rangers movie. I've got the power, you know. Okay, anyways, that was my
Yes.
first jazz solo, and I just remember my teacher being like, "Oh, cool, you can do this. Oh, cool, you can do that." Like I think I could put a back
And
walkover in
we
my video.
still do that now, even like when you see a gymnast come into your class. Whoa, you can
Oh,
do that. Yeah.
yeah, let's put that in. Yeah, so I just freaking like yeah, it spoke to my soul. I guess that was what I was supposed to do because I never looked back.
Yeah.
I did dance until, well, yeah, you could say I'm still dancing. I'm teaching more, but
Yep.
yeah, still dancing many moons later. But in the meantime, went back and I said I did all the things because I also really enjoyed being an athlete. Yes, dancers are athletes. I was referring to sports rather. So I loved volleyball. I loved basketball. I did basketball all the way up until high school, which again, my coach made me choose between dance and basketball. Like, why do I have to choose? But it was always conflicting. So yeah, no, I chose dance again. And my grade 11 and 12 year, it was just dance. Yeah.
And then you were also, so we all went to Meridian Heights, which was a French immersion school.
Hmm.
And then the natural progression from that junior high elementary school was to Spruce Grove Composite High School, which was the French high school.
Yep.
But you took grade 10 there,
Hmm.
then took grade 11 at the arts high school in the city. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What was your take on going to an arts high school?
That's a relative question in the sense of, I think my answer would be different had I started there in grade 10. I don't know. I jumped into a new school at grade 11. Let's just say I didn't like high school. I didn't like grade 10, I didn't like grade 11, and I didn't like grade 12. I maybe, yeah, I think I struggled to fit in anywhere. And I think at like being an adult, you're like, well, you don't need to fit in. But being an adolescent, that's kind of what you strive to do. And so I didn't really fit anywhere. And so changing schools, I don't think helped that, because I did have some good friends at my old school. I went back and I switched schools, and I loved the fact that I got to dance while in academic school. Like, that part was so cool. There were some really neat human beings. I think just based on the fact that it was an artsy school, so you just get some more creative, individuals showing that parts of themselves. So I'm not really sure how to answer that, but I don't regret going there. I learned a lot. Excuse me. I learned a lot of actually dance history, like the would you call it academic side of dance, or like the history of dance, which was pretty cool. I got to, so it was an experience. It was something. I decided to go back again in grade 12 because I thought I was going to play basketball again, and I missed who I thought were my friends who were not there when I returned. But so part of me wishes I just stayed and graduated there, just to see, like, who knows what I could have learned more as an artist from that school. But
man, it's so funny you say that, because there's such similarities on my end, reflecting on my experience in high school, because I did grade 10 Spruce Grove Comp, French immersion. Then 11, 12, I did Memorial, which was just like the other county over high school.
Yeah.
And I left my core group of friends in Spruce Grove Comp from K to 9 to go follow a couple friends at the other county's high school. And immediately I started despising high school. It was not an environment that I liked. I was friends with people that were older than me, but I mostly found my friendships at dance studios. And I think that's a huge thing as well, is when you're committed to an extracurricular activity that takes what dance takes, the schedule wise, you start to build friendships also in the studio, almost more than some of the friends that you make in high school. So it is tricky in balancing that. And I think maybe I say that because, reflecting on your experience, I thought I was the only one. So maybe you hearing my experience will open your eyes up to also hearing the fact that, like, that happens a lot. It's not just an individual experience isolated to you. And there isn't a win with it. I think it's just hindsight, reflection, and then, hey, move on, onwards and upwards. But and this next sort of chapter in your life then, so after high school you graduated, and talk to us about your transition from high school to the University of Alberta, I believe. But within that, please still consider what you were doing extracurricular wise. So I know that you were a part of a dance group. You were also doing CrossFit training and triathlons. So, like, if you can, kind of reflect on that chunk of your life.
Sometimes, to start with, like, it, to be frank, to be honest, I don't remember. It's like, holy smokes, that feels like that was a parallel life. Because I'm not sure how I fit all of that at the same time. I'm not sure. So I will try to dig into the memories, into the minds of my memories. So, high school to university. Now, as many dancers do, and actually probably just most people that are in graduation year, are like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do next year, you know? And having dance such a big part of my life and person, like it's a piece of me, I definitely did not want to stop dancing. Like, dancing was, okay, so what can I do and dance? And when I say what can I do, meaning I was also a very academic person. So, and I would say still am, I really enjoy learning. I really, really like math and science. Those were my two favorite subjects. So I was an academic, plus, which I think you've maybe touched on, we have our grandmother and parents were very supportive of us in whatever we wanted to do, but our grandparents were very heavy pro university. You are going to university, right? You're definitely going to university, right? And so I'm grateful for that, looking back on it. And it wasn't in an aggressive way. It was in a loving way. It was in a guiding way, with them having life experience that we do not have. So very grateful for it. But I was like, okay, I do want to go to university. I also want to dance. So how am I going to do both? Wasn't sure. I'm not sure if anyone has the answer to that, but you just got to do the next step. Like, you just got to do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then you got to open doors, and you got to make doors. And so I applied for university. Just a quick side story. I actually thought I wanted to be an architect, and then I went to this little, like, I guess it was a university fair at one of our local Spruce Grove recreation centers. And I was speaking to the, which in hindsight, it's funny because he was the recruiter for the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Alberta. But the Faculty of Engineering also, or at the time, also had housed the architecture department. And so I was just speaking to him about that. And he said, it sounds like actually what you like is what the engineers do. From that conversation on, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a civil engineer. And so I applied for engineering at the at the University of Alberta, U of A, from this point forward. And got my A double $sign kicked.
Let's see it. Do you still wear it or no?
No, it's right there. It's right behind me. I'm not sure. I feel guilty, to be honest. Not guilty. I feel like I'm not practicing engineering, so why am I wearing the ring? I don't know. She's referring to the iron ring. So Briggs just held up her pinky finger, because if you graduate as an engineer in Canada, not the world, but in Canada, you actually go through what's called an iron ring ceremony. And historically speaking, it was actual iron pulled and made into a ring from a bridge that collapsed in Montreal, or Quebec City, I'm pretty sure it's Montreal, due to a person error, a human error, but it was not like people make mistakes. It was negligent. Like, it was definitely avoidable. And so that's a reminder. The iron ring for engineers is a reminder to us that the public, their lives are in our hands, and we have a responsibility and a duty to the public, whether doesn't matter what type of engineer you are. Because if you think about your house, the water that's running, the toaster that's popping, the everything, the gas stove that's on, all of that is possible because of engineers and other things. And so we have, people's lives in our hands, and so that's a reminder to make sure you do your job properly and professionally with integrity. And there's like whole rule, you're not supposed to wear it next to gold or precious jewels because of that symbolizing greed, and you never want to do your work under the impression of making tons of money, but rather because you want to do it for the good of humanity, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm not sure what I don't want to go on too much of a tangent because I was really interested.
I love that though. And I know
Yeah.
listeners will love that, because any topic of conversation that can be brought up that is not common knowledge is selfishly my favorite thing to talk about. So like,
Okay.
thank you for exploring that.
Yeah.
And it is interesting to hear your perspective, to say that you feel guilty and so you don't wear it, or however you feel is so yours to feel. It's just, I, as your younger sister and just another female human being, want you to wear that thing on your frickin' forehead. So I just, yeah. Anyways, so I know that was hard for you. I remember as a younger sister reflecting, like thinking of us at the round table. It's so ridiculous, doing homework and just like day in, day
There
out,
were
the
many
amount of,
nights at that round table. Not with a
yeah.
K. Not with a K. Just the men.
I love it so much. Your push then to finish that degree, would you say was because you wanted to get a job at the other end of it, or because you wanted to get the degree?
There was never a question that I didn't want to finish. That was never an option for me. Although it almost decided for me after first year, based on marks. You have to get a certain GPA in order to get into second year. But so it almost decided for me. But somehow I snuck by. I would like to say thank you to my friend Larissa in first year. I'm pretty sure she was the one that helped me pass. Anyway, so no, never a question that I was going to finish. It was just it was a matter of what path am I going to take to get to the end. So actually, I was still dancing. So in my first year, which is probably why maybe my marks weren't exactly where they should have been. But on weekends, for example, in my first semester, I was touring with Triple Threat Dance Convention, assisting them. So, at 10 p.m. when everyone else is going to bed to get ready for the next morning, I'm doing my Civil 105, 101, Civi 101 homework, MATLAB homework, which was absolutely horrible. And sometimes having to miss class on a Friday or Monday, because that was when the flights were flying back or to. And then fast forward, yeah, it was 2013, so it was between second and third year, I suppose. I got an offer for Princess Cruises, and it was just meant to be, because the timing allowed me to not miss. Sorry, I did miss one semester, so it went from May until January. So I was like 2 weeks late for my winter semester the following year. So I mean that contract did delay my graduating by a year. So instead of graduating, which is actually, this is going to be sort of it's just sort of, life just happens in interesting ways. So instead of graduating in 2014 with my friends who I met in second year petroleum engineering, who all got jobs in 2014, I graduated in 2015 because I was now a semester behind. Ironically, I'm not sure if it's irony, but ironically enough, the oil industry, so I graduated in 2015, the oil industry crashed that year. And not only was the industry, I mean globally, not hiring new engineers, they were letting go thousands of petroleum engineers worldwide, but especially in North America, and even more especially in Alberta. And so there was not a hope in sight that I was going to, I didn't even bother applying. I maybe applied to maybe one job, and I'm like, this is dumb. Because even if they are looking for somebody, they're going to rehire, that person with 7 years experience that just got let go from Suncor, versus a brand new engineer who has no experience other than that one summer term I took at Stantec. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I still want to dance. So I did another contract on Princess Cruises, which was supposed to be a triple contract. Long story short, it ended up just being one, my decision. And
So they had hired you, your contract was for 3 consecutives?
3 consecutive ships. The reason why they had 2 of those. Princess had two of those triple contracts. It was the Sunsea Dawn and Ruby Sapphire Diamond, I believe, their ships. And it's just because like 4 out of 5 of the shows on each one were the same. They changed one show on each ship. So yeah.
And were you, I feel like I remember you being dance captain for the second one, or was it also for the first one?
No, they tried to give no. So the first one, no, I was not. The second one I was. It's so funny because the I'm not kidding you. The day we were supposed to board the bus, I remember it so clearly, to go to the airport to fly to the ship, our company performance manager, aka CPM, aka dance captain, quit. And so I remember the casting director coming to our apartments, which was weird. And he was, so Jordan, this happened, and you're the only one that has worked for Princess before. Are you okay, taking the CPM job? I'm sorry. What? Oh gosh, I could just talk so much about that. I will not. But I sure as hell did say yes to that opportunity. Do I regret it? Yeah, I think I do. I think that ruined my contract. Honest, and that's just me being old now and reflecting. I was so stressed that entire contract. And on top of being stressed and learning, not only because you have an admin role, like you have to coordinate with other departments on the ship on top of running your cast and making sure the shows are good. Like, I mean, like from and the productions are for somebody who just stepped into this, it was very stressful. And so then what I was saying on top of that was I went from being their peers in rehearsal to now being their manager. That was awful because I had no idea what I was doing, and B, they didn't respect me as their manager. So that was
Because out of the gate, you
out of the gate, I
were
was
a
a peer.
peer.
Yeah, we were just co-dancers, and then all of a sudden I was chosen, and let's there was no conversation with the cast. It was more just, hey Jordan, in private. I mean, sure, they announced the previous is stepping down. Jordan is now CPM, but like yeah, and they're all young. I'm young, so immaturity.
And
Yeah.
you're trained in LA with Princess, right?
Excuse me, sorry.
Princess trains in LA?
Yeah, Santa Clarita, which is just outside of LA.
Yeah, and I remember, I think it was your second contract. Do you remember when I came to visit because I was in Dancer Palooza?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we went to Santa Monica. We watched the Vans US surf competition.
Right. Oh no, was that
Or was
Santa
that your
Monica? No, that was Huntington Beach, wasn't it? Huntington.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was.
And you were
And
a friend. Yeah, and I drove out there with my 3 girlfriends actually.
yeah. So I reflect now being in the position of like and my experience of my own, just like that would be so hard to transition from peer and friend to hard stop. Now I have to operate like a manager. And I tip my hat off to you for finishing that contract with your head on screwed out,
I
right?
don't know if I did actually. It might have been like
Well, I'm
hanging
here to
off
tell
my
you you did.
head.
So coming out of that
Look, I'm
contract,
like
you
you
were at
saying it.
what age?
Me
I
pull it
know.
back up.
What
Okay.
age were you at that point?
That was contract 2015 to 2016. So I was 20.
Okay. So you were 23 coming out of your second contract, and you knew wholeheartedly that you were done with ships. Is that fair to say?
Oh, I was done with that ship.
Yeah. So then what from that moment when you flew back, can I be so bold to say that there was also somebody that you had left sadly on the ship, that contract, that became a huge part of your life? Um, and I think it's probably time we introduce Dr. Clutie. You you did find, and this isn't this isn't abnormal, I would say, but I think your unique story with him is abnormal, just with the trials and tribulations that you both have gone through to get to the point where you are. So can you just introduce this lovely soon to be brother-in-law of mine?
Yeah, with pleasure. My fiance, the love of my life, we are getting married in 4 weeks and 6 days. I met him on that ship. And so when I say regret taking that contract, I don't regret taking the contract. I regret saying yes to CPM. If it wasn't for that ship, I would not have met him. And if I would not have met him, I would not have my beautiful son. So yeah, he was the doctor on the ship. And I don't know, like, do you want, like, I don't
Just
know.
like, so because there's not a lot of people that understand cruise ship life
Yeah.
and the roles there. So just for like the next couple minutes, explain what that was like. And yeah.
Yeah, so cruise ship life is blank. Insert whatever word you would like, words. It is so, what I always said when I came off of the ship, was that it's literally a mini universe operating parallelly, if that's a word, in parallel to it is such an odd, it's an odd, almost social experiment in a way. If you were to like take a little plexiglass with a microscope on society and just like zoom it in, kind of like that, because I mean, you've got ranks, so you are literally saying some of you are more important than others, point blank. And not only is it unspoken, it's spoken and visible with how many stripes or none you walk around the ship with. So uniform, any officer has stripes, with the captain obviously having the most amount, 4.5 stripes, and then going down from there. So you're walking around the ship, and you have to walk around, in uniform, with these visible ranks on your clothing. And there are some beautiful human beings, do not get me wrong, but I would, without hesitation, say the majority of people take that and go, I am more important than you. And honestly, that took a toll on my soul. I didn't like that. I hated that. I hated it so much, because everybody is a person. Yes, your job might be harder to do than the next, but that doesn't make you a better person than that person. And it certainly doesn't make it okay for you to treat somebody. I just saw a lot of that, and that broke my heart. So that's why I say it's odd in its own way. It's also odd in the way people operate within that, I'm going to call it, social experiment. I don't know what else to call it. But so it's a very small world. You are literally living and working with the people that you live and work, like, that you work with. You also live with them, and so you see them under deck, in crew spaces after working together. So you just see different sides of people. Yeah, so interesting. Probably somebody could probably write a book on that, or yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to do that, and I probably won't bore you anymore. So with Pierre, He was the physician on the ship because all ships have a doctor's office for passengers and crew. And actually, on this specific cruise ship, there was on the size. There's a crew doctor's office and a passenger doctor's office. If the ship is small enough, it's just the same. But I'll just tell you this one little bit because it's funny to me. So we have what's called turnaround days on ships, and it's where like whoever's finished their contract gets off. Sorry, turnaround days is all the passengers get off and the new ones board, but that also happens with some of the crew. Some of the crew are finished their contract and they get off, and new ones start their contract and they get on. Okay, I knew who the crew doc was before this turnaround day, and 3 days later, I rolled my ankle in one of the shows, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. Wasn't fine because I couldn't do the show the next day, and you have to have a doctor's note in order to not do the show. So I was like, Kate, gotta go get a doctor's note, and I'm walking in like, hair off to the side in my track pants and probably no bra, like I don't know, because I thought it was a female crew doc that I had saw the day like 4 days before in passing. The doctor's door's closed, so I'm just sitting there chatting to one of the nurses, and then, okay, doctor, I'll see you now. I go in, I just remember my face beat red. Well, obviously, number one, very handsome man and not female. Definitely not who I thought was going to be behind the door. And the rest is history. Yeah, I don't know. It's a funny story.
Yeah,
Anyways.
that is, and he's South African.
Yeah.
So you came home. Obviously, he was still on contract with the cruise ship, and did he do another tour with the
Actually, no, we both left that day. It was
Oh, cool.
February 16th. We both left that day.
Okay, so then he flew back to South Africa.
Mm-hmm. And I flew back to Canada.
And then you took on another contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not with the cruise ship, but you took on another contract in a different capacity, which we'll talk about. But did he take on another cruise contract?
Yeah, multiple.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
Yeah, and so this was 2016. Yeah, so he did few, but different crew members, so different roles on the ship have different length of contracts. Dancers typically have on a normal contract between 6 and 7. However, my first contract was 8.5 months. That is a long time. But most of the crew are 10 months, which is bonkers. I mean, this is their livelihood, so they have babies back home, they have families back home, and they only see them, 55 days of the year. But so yeah, doctors' contracts luckily are between 2 and 4 months, so reasonable length of time. So yeah.
So then he took on a few more, and at that point in your life, you were back in Canada.
Yeah.
And still very much, are you 24, 25?
No, this is 2016 still. So
I'm still 23.
I'm about to turn 24 in March.
Okay, fantastic. And in your heart of hearts, in your head, you were where? Like, where were you? Because there's a lot of dancers, honestly, that come out of their first or second cruise contract and do kind of just go, okay, like close that chapter and move on. So I'm just curious to know mindset wise where you were.
In a lot of places. I always, although I knew that I would always keep dance in my life. Actually, I specifically got a tattoo when I was 19 to remind myself of that, to ensure that no matter what, in some facet, in some way, shape, or form, to always make sure dance is a part of my life. I knew that was going to be the case, but I also, let's say, am ambitious and wanted to ensure that I financially had a secure future, I suppose. And as we all know, dance, the arts, entertainment industry is very uncertain. It is the opposite of secure. And so I, in the same breath, was trying to make a parallel plan on, okay, so what can I also do on the side to ensure that I am set for the future comfortably. Just being able to feed myself would be great. No, I'm just joking. So I knew petroleum engineering. I mean, even just saying it now, it's just, at the time was so like, I actually just did 5 years of hell for nothing. Looking back, no, it wasn't for nothing. I learned a lot of things. I have the degree, whatever. But there was no chance in heck I was getting a job in that field. So then I started to, other side, okay, dance is still a thing. I'm not done with that. Performing is still a part of me. But okay, what else can I do? So petroleum engineering, along with what? So I started searching up courses. I was like, oh, maybe I could get hired on with a company like Suncor doing something else. And then I go, hey, by the way, I also have a petroleum engineering degree if you just so happen to want to, transfer me. So that was my scheme. So I actually thought of, it's funny, I was like, okay, you know what? The petroleum industry has a bad rep. It has a bad rep for not a lot of good reasons. For some, but it's not all bad. And so it's a lot of good, actually. And so I was like, I'm going to go back to school for public relations. I'm going to go and work for one of these big oil companies, and I'm going to help repair their image. Also whisper in someone's ear that I'm an engineer. Sorry. Oh gosh. So I went back to school, and the one caveat was I'm not going back physically. I'm not tying myself down to a classroom because I'm not done performing or exploring since my at the time boyfriend lived overseas. So I enrolled and I started that September with Ryerson University, which is now called Toronto Metropolitan University. It just changed last year for odd reasons, but anyways, I decided to do public relations and continue to audition. And this was the cool thing about doing education online, which I advocate for anyone in this field.
Me too.
Let me also just put in parentheses, an education is never, ever, ever a bad decision, ever. And by an education, I mean any type of education. I mean courses, whether it's like just a side course that you do through
certification, something. Yeah.
Certificates, just like anything, it's never a bad thing. Never will you go, shoot, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And if you can do it online, that is perfect because you are still able to, get yourself to auditions, get yourself to class, travel, remain flexible while also bettering yourself. And so I had flown. So I had this. How did it even come about? Right, I actually do know. So on my last ship, one of the dancers had worked for Disneyland Paris, and I've always been a Disney fan at heart. Sorry, do you want to also jump in? I am talking a lot.
I want you to completely share your experience because without me saying anything, it speaks for itself.
Okay, but please, jump right in there. Did you say something?
I am sitting back and enjoying it.
Oh dear. Okay. Right. So always been a Disney fan at heart. It was a super side story, but my grandparents and parents took our family, to Disney for the first time when I was 12. And that was the best thing ever. And I remember seeing the princesses and getting their autographs and all these things, and never thought anything more other than I love Disney. And then fast forward to 23, working on a ship in the middle of an ocean with this person from England. And she had worked for Disneyland Paris. And I was like, whoa, like that. I hadn't even, like, that's cool. Like, what did you do? Yeah, she was friends with a lot of characters. Quote unquote friends with. That's one of the rules. um, and I was like, yeah, what's that like? And this, that, and the other. And she's, well, if you ever come to England, you know, sometimes I sit on the casting panel. Sometimes words escape my brain after having a baby. Yeah, so, you know, I'll give you some tips and tricks on audition things and this, that, and the other, because it's very weird. Although all auditions are weird. So the Disney thing was planted in my brain. So now I'm back in Canada. I'm looking up auditions. They're never in Canada. Okay, great. So I fly myself to Dublin. I am laughing at because that was horrific. In a few ways. One is I stayed at my first hostel and it was horrible. It was awful. The audition, I got cut first round. Like, this was a waste of money, a waste of time. It was a horrible. I was, on a bright note, I was the first, was it the first or the second? I'm pretty sure I was the first person in the parking lot before the doors opened. And the second person, funny enough, was from Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. And she was there to audition for Disney as well. Such a small world. But yeah, I was freaking cut first round. That was so dumb. And I know, that's a thing. I was talking to Mom 2 nights ago, and when I did this, it did that.
Thumbs up. If you do a thumbs up on video, it always pops up. That's crazy. How about the middle finger?
Dang. Okay, so the show is not PG.
I digress. No.
Yeah, shoot, that definitely burst a bubble. And also, I know, and I'm not spoiled, guys, but that also was horrible. Dublin was amazing, though. Get myself back home. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing I think I'm serving at a restaurant again. Also, in school. And sorry, in 2017, I was interning as a public relations summer student. But I'm not sure. Yeah, this would have probably been either late 2016 or early 2017. I flew myself to LA to audition for Tokyo Disney, which they had 2 different auditions, 2 back to back. One was character performer, and the other one was like the aerialist for the Little Mermaid show, in their Little Mermaid show at Tokyo at Sea or whatever. I did both, and and I'm also just thinking where I stayed, and if my son or daughter ever did this, like, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. Back then, I guess maybe Airbnb was, I'm not sure when Airbnb started, but this was
early stages.
Yeah, and so a random man's couch for like a single man, like, didn't live with anybody else, no pets.
That's so kind of that gentleman to offer his couch up to individuals in need.
I'm laughing so hard I'm gonna wake up my son, but
thank God you're here to talk about it.
That's what I'm saying.
And we'll leave it at that.
That's what I'm saying.
Things not to do by Jordan. I don't know.
I mean, I'm here.
Anyways, so yeah. Good news came from this audition.
Not this one. Not this audition.
Right.
Not this one. Nope. But I did make it to almost the end of the aerial one. And I made it to the end of the character performer because they gave me a Cinderella script, and I was so excited because she was my favorite. I was bummed, though, because my friend on the ship said that at auditions, they bring their wigs and their dresses, and if you make it to the last round, you get the script and you get to try on all the stuff. But apparently they stopped doing that. So I didn't get to try on the wig or the dress, unfortunately. But no, that was still, never heard anything ever again.
So when you had to fly to Toronto.
Mm-hmm. That was a red eye.
That's right.
That involved no couches and no hostels. We slept on the plane, and we got ready. I say we because that performer that I met in Dublin from Edmonton, we did this one together. So yeah, red eye, slept on the plane, got ready in the bathroom of the airport, headed to the audition, and honestly, I was like, well, I've already been told no twice, so I had no hopes, but I mean, not you, I guess you always have like a little bit of a hope, but no expectations. And then this was May. I got a call August 7th from a Chinese number. And it was at night, and we had just gotten back from the States. And I'm like, okay, like deny, like obviously spam. They call back. I'm like, stop calling me. Stop. Then I get a voicemail. I said, you have a new voicemail. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Can't wait to listen to this spam. It was the casting director from Shanghai Disney in China.
Which I love that they call. Like, I love that. Jeff Mortison said the same thing about Cirque. I love that they call.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's very like
Professional.
They're taking the time to have it like potentially have
Exactly.
every time.
Exactly. And then so you then decided obviously to take that. I imagine you were shaking and teary-eyed and nervous about it all.
Well, first of all, I definitely didn't expect it because this was months later, number one. Second of all, they gave me 24 hours to make the decision. Listen, also some bit of context. My boyfriend was moving to Canada September 17th, okay? It is August 7th. We were about to be able to finally be together after almost 2 years of long distance. Not only long distance, but different time zones. And not only different time zones, but ships. And so ships, you don't just get free Wi-Fi everywhere, guys. Like your Wi-Fi is not always on, and it's not free. You as a crew member, which also blows my mind, as a crew member, you have to pay for internet usage. Okay, so almost 2 years of only getting to speak to your significant other sometimes. Now he finally got his PR. Things are happening. Life is good. You've got 24 hours to decide if you would like to move across the world to China for 14 months. Okay? 14 months. Not 6. You don't get to go, could I just come for like 6 months? Like, would that be okay? No, 14 months. Oh, God, I can't even, I think I'm re-feeling it. The gut feeling of pure ecstatic and also heart-wrenching pain. And maybe sadness, not pain, but sadness. That was really hard.
And was Pierre on board with the decision? Yeah.
Obviously.
Fantastic. And I think that in itself.
Yeah. Like, he was obviously,
you know what I mean?
Heartbroken. But he said, if you don't do it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
And he's right.
I did it.
And I came to visit you. And that was a trip of a lifetime that I will never forget. In fact, it makes me nauseous to think about me not going. I'm not joking you. I think about this a lot. I think about the fact that there was a chance that I didn't choose to go.
Mm-hmm.
And mom and dad went to visit you, and I didn't go on that trip. And grandma. And they came back and said, Briggs, I think you should go. And at the time, I was in Vancouver, I believe. And I said, yes, absolutely. Went on my own to visit you. And that was one of the top 3 best trips of my life. Like,
you were
that side of the world.
The fact you were 18.
Yeah.
That's just like, wow. Like,
it was tremendous.
18 years old, flying to a country that is unknown to a lot of the world to come visit me is, if I think that's scary, but you did it.
Yes, and I toured Disneyland or whatever you call it by myself, which was actually the funniest thing ever because it's different on that side of the world. It is just different.
Yeah.
And it was such a treat to watch all of the characters and performers and the beautiful just display of talent on the park. And of course, I got to watch some princesses in their glory perform and did an incredible job. Wink, wink. So, Shanghai, you
Did
then
you know that?
came
Did
back.
you know that you also became vegetarian on that trip?
I sure did become vegetarian, which means I am now on year what? Is that year 7, year
That was
6? I don't
that was
even know.
2018. So you are on you're coming into year 7.
Yeah. And for reasons that we both know why.
I was already vegetarian, so
Yeah, that's true. But the trip of a lifetime and a
so
trip
cool.
that I know I'll cherish forever. And
Me
then
too.
also, yeah, I think we just created such a like I remember growing up, you were definitely always like my older sister. So
Mhm.
I just always looked at you like my older sister. But I feel like that trip, it was actually more just like friendship, which was
Yeah.
so cool for me. And I mean, now I think we're more friends than sisterhood, but
For sure.
friendship is, you know what
Well,
I
if you
mean?
think about it, I was gone a lot of your, like for many of your adolescent years, specifically your like your high school years, which is
Yeah,
kind of when you come into a little bit more of your mature self. I
yeah,
was gone. So, those moments where you have the opportunity to build a relationship, I wasn't
yeah.
there. So,
Yeah. So and
yeah.
maybe that's why actually I'm realizing it now. Like maybe that's why that trip was so extra important for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
Um yeah, so grateful for that. You finished that contract and I know that that was such a pivotal decision in your life. Choosing to do that contract, it was long, it was hard, it was not easy. You were away from your um partner, your now fiance for so long. It also strengthened your relationship. And I think I'm not too bold to say that because I myself can say that about my relationship with Devin is that distance strengthens your relationship, I think. So I think coming on the other end of that now, you don't have to relive it. But where was your mindset at that point after that contract?
I think I was emotionally exhausted. So a lot of a lot of that post, and honestly, of that contract, like I try and think back to it to try and spark my memory. I don't remember really like where I was at in my mind after that contract. That was a really really long contract, and I was emotionally tired. So yeah, I I'm not sure, but I think I remember being good to just stay home for a while. I remember going, I'm ready to be with my family for a little while. I'm ready to be in Canada for a while. And what happens next, we'll see. I started my small business, which was
Which is why I have you on as well, because entrepreneurship is in your blood just as much as mine.
yeah.
So um, you did such a cool thing when you came back to Canada, which was use your background and your years spent in the industry
Mhm.
and then bring it to the local area. And so talk a little bit about that.
Um, Honestly, it was definitely like I think I had always maybe like subconsciously wanted to own my own business because you're your own boss. You can be flexible. Um, Definitely had never owned my own business, so didn't realize time it does take up. But the other piece of it was Disney has such an interesting um, thing and does such interesting things for people, and one of those things being inspiration. However, it's very expensive. It's very expensive and it's hard to reach. And not everybody gets to experience that magic that every time I say it makes me smile. And so I know it sounds cheesy, but really a piece of it was um, I just want to be able to bring whatever Disney had created locally. I wanted people who couldn't go to be able to still experience that. And so those were the two pieces of why I started Glass Slipper Entertainment, and that kept me busy for a year. I did just that for a year, um, while still doing school, because I graduated school in 2019. I graduated.
And so, for those that don't know, Glass Slipper Entertainment is princesses and characters coming to live events and bringing that spirit, that pure joy live to your occasion. And so you built such an incredible team of very, very special characters. So I know you've touched many, many lives and changed and created memories for a lot of people in the local community. And then obviously you branched it into Southern Alberta as well. So it's still very much around, and have been an inspiration of mine as a female entrepreneur myself. So on that side of things, I still look up to you for those reasons. So there's just so many reasons why you had a huge influence on my life. And hearing you say, like, you got your PR degree, you have your engineering degree, you went to Shanghai, did a 14-month contract, you did cruise ships, like we are built in such a way that it's just like goal achieve, motivate, motivate, motivate. And I think not growing up, in the last few years, so many people tell me, slow down, you don't need to do it all. Take time for yourself, make sure you're, not doing too much. And I know they mean it out of pure love and respect and care. However, there is very few individuals that I think understand that it's just purely because we love knowledge, learning, education. We love the
challenge,
the boost that comes from the physical activity that we do, because I know that you did CrossFit and triathlons and aerial training. We love the feeling and what the certain lifestyle we've chosen gives us. And so it is very hard to explain, but you are one of the very few individuals that I know in my life that can understand it. So just to pause and reflect on that, because hearing us just go through all of these things, these chapters in your life, is astonishing. And I do not at all want to just glaze over it. So thank you for being that inspiration for me, and still are, because now to transition into what maybe we can talk about moving forward is your new chapter in your life, if we can. Can we dig into, obviously you mentioned fiance and soon wedding, but there is the most beautiful human being of them all to talk about, and I want to know how you are doing.
Oh my gosh, my tiny little human, it's gonna make me emotional, but even just the fact that we are able to create life is so wondrous. It is so miraculous. And yeah, so he just turned 1 last weekend.
And so, sorry, because I want to paint a little bit of light, Pierre did end up moving to Canada, and you did finish that contract, and you did end up living together in very small communities in rural areas, because that's the process of moving from South Africa to Canada, getting a sponsorship and showing your worth to be a doctor in Canada. And so you were by his side, growing your own company with 2 degrees, and you were there. And I remember, still staying connected with you and that chapter of your life. And then his next contract took him to Southern Alberta, if I may be so bold to say that. And then you started a life in Medicine Hat.
Yeah, Medicine Hat, Alberta. Which never in a million years thought I'd end up here. I hadn't even been here before. Well, we had visited before we moved, but I had never been to this part of the province before. But this is where his life was taking him, and so that so was I. I was gone too. And on a side note, I think the thing that made me um, okay and comfortable pretty quickly, well, other than the obvious being him, was we found a beautiful acreage, and I we grew up on an acreage, and so I think that's just having that space. I don't love living in close proximity, and so just having that space and that peace on an acreage, I think, has definitely helped me settle and be okay with being here. I just don't like how far away it is from my family, but it is what it is, and we make it work. And yeah, and so we started our family. My son was born August of 2023, and he is the best thing that's ever happened to me. He is
Me too. Me too.
He is so fortunate with the family that loves him and supports him and is around him. Yeah, and he is my everything. Motherhood is, I had no idea what it was going to be like. Obviously, it's like nothing else. Not gonna lie, the first, and it will always be hard. It is always though rewarding, but the first few months it hits you like a freaking train moving at 200 miles an hour. That is probably the hardest, like that is the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life, is those first few months. It's just, to be real, it's, you're exhausted, you're physically and emotionally, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ragdolled?
Healing. So you're physically healing and emotionally, yeah, that, because your hormones and everything else, like to grow a human, your body goes through mind-blowing things physically and, well, physically, like biochemically and physically. And so being so beyond exhausted because you don't sleep, on top of, I have to keep this human alive, like this is now a human that I am responsible for, on top of healing physically. And yeah, that is, wow. I just remember going, holy, I'm not allowed to swear, holy shit. I have so much more respect for mothers. Yeah, like I'm speechless because it is the hardest job ever, but it is the best. It is absolutely the best thing ever. And I am not there. I mean, I'm in a very good place, and he is wonderful and healthy, and he is happy, and yeah, and loved. He is loved. And I just, I think the coolest, well, one of the coolest things is watching another human develop their personality, develop their skills,
Yeah,
develop
because
what
you
they
have such a
like.
unique way too, because you take so much care, and you understand the just going the extra mile, because at these developmental years it is
Mhm.
worth the extra mile. And I think that's why it has impacted you so much, is because you've given a shit. Like, it's not to say that not every mother does, but I just mean, like, you have given Francois a childhood where you are setting him up for success beyond I think he'll ever understand. So
You do your best.
you, and I
Really,
know everyone does,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just, it's so unique from your sister and
I
auntie
appreciate that.
perspective, is just, the toys that you buy, or you take extra care in understanding what they'll serve for Francois. You
Mhm.
take extra care in making sure he is physically touching nature and connection with human beings and animals. And
Mhm.
it's just, it's the extra steps that you're taking is not going unnoticed, and it will not go unnoticed when this beautiful baby boy develops into a young man. um
It's
and
so
I know he'll listen to this recording one day, and auntie says, be kind to your mama.
Trouble.
Um,
He is
trouble,
trouble with a
trouble,
capital
trouble.
T and a capital R and maybe even all capital letters. Trouble.
Him's gonna be a handsome, handsome boy too.
Yeah, so just yeah, get it like just every day is different and seeing them, develop the things that they like and grow into this human being. And I guess what's in the back of my mind, I learned, when I first became so months ago, that and if you think about it, the human brain develops the most, meaning the quickest in the first 3 years of a human life than than it will ever again. So when I heard that, like, whew, that hit me because you've got 3 years to do whatever you can do to set them up. And I mean, every child is different and every setting is different, but it's just that's an interesting fact. Like truly, like the brain, and you don't get to choose it. It will grow the most it will ever grow in the first 3 years of a human's life.
Yeah.
And then the other like physical thing that I watched, if you take our arms, so there was like different ages. I saw this video. If you take our arms and you put it above our head like this, like it's our head is puny compared to our arms. And then it went down the scale, and then it did a baby. So if you try and take a baby's arms like over their head, it barely even reaches. Their heads and their brains are in comparison so big to their little bodies. So it's just yeah, the brain fascinates me. But yeah,
It rightly so, rightly so. And I think maybe I think I FaceTimed you 2 days ago, and he was overstimulated a bit at the dance studio because you were
mm,
choreographing. Um, and
yeah,
I think even like having a mom that is in the arts as well, but a dad that's that's actively practicing, science and math, and then a mom that has a background in science and math. Like this child is just gonna be. He already is. Anyways, very proud auntie over here and proud sister.
thank you.
Um, this is a new chapter in your life. You're now planning for a wedding.
Mhm.
Are you excited? Because I am.
I am, but also like, are our listeners sick of hearing me talk? I'm nervous about that. Are we okay? Are we good? Do you think?
No, we are. I'm like I'm coming to a close now, but I wanna get up to speed on wedding and what that looks like for you, kind of coming out of the wedding, life in Medicine Hat, and what you foresee.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited for this. This, I guess you'd call it like dance season, school season. I'm currently on mat leave, so which is coming to an end soon too. Breaks my heart. But anyway, so I have an opportunity this year for a few different reasons to be able to choreograph full of solos for some dear students of mine. Just adore them to bits and pieces. And so it's the first year I get to choreograph for them. And it's super exciting. It's very special because I've seen them, I've seen them grow and helped them hopefully grow a bit in the last 3 years. And so that's why I was in the studio with I thought I could get some choreographing done with a 1-year-old who now runs around, but that was not the case. It didn't really work out. But yeah, so I will be mentoring a couple of students and choreographing their solos and watching them flourish this season. I think it's going to be a huge season for them for a few reasons. And so I like that I can still have it in my life, but not to the point where it's overwhelming or that it's going to take away from my time with my family and my son at this stage. So that I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, that's so it brightens my face to hear that you're looking forward to this season and kind of introducing dance back into your world. And I imagine there'll be some potential judging opportunities down the road as well. If not this year, then you've had it already before. And so you'll be back in that festival competition environment too, which is always a good energy. And yeah, I love it myself, and I believe you do as well. Bringing it back into the present, I like to sort of finish the last 5 minutes of each episode with just like random current things that are going on. So sometimes they're just fire round questions. Sometimes they require like 1 sentence, 2 sentences. But if you had to, sorry, you ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
Okay, good. If you had to choose to explore space or ocean, what would it be? Fantastic. If you had to die because of heat or die because of hypothermia, what would it be?
Hypothermia.
It's kind of a given, right? I think I've asked that to a few people and I say it and I'm like, well, it's kind of a given.
Like both of it, like that would be painful, but so would be dying of heat.
Because cold, like hypothermia, you eventually feel hot. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I've never had it.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh,
Because when it's like some fatal accidents in the mountains, when you get underneath the snow, you start to feel hot because there's people that have lived on the other side of it and gone like, I started to feel heat.
but isn't that because snow isn't insulated?
Yeah, there is something to it, and I'm sounding dumb.
No.
Um,
Anywho.
okay, this is actually something that isn't a fire round question, but I'm curious to know what a skincare routine for you looks like now, because you've always had porcelain skin and you've cared about it more than any of the other females in the family. So are you still as much into skincare as you
What
were
made you think of
in the last years?
that? 100%.
What is the routine? Do you have one nighttime routine?
I am so actually crazy enough is so first of all, if you have to choose anything ever and you can only pick one product that you put on your face, well, first of all, wash it, but second of all, retinol, um, aka vitamin A. When you're pregnant, though, you're not allowed to use certain things. So I have or breastfeeding, pregnant and breastfeeding. So I just have been able to get back to using vitamin A retinol, which I'm super excited. But there is like a plant-based derived. I butcher the name every single time, so I'm not even gonna try. But it's a plant-based derived retinol alternative that you can find in certain products. So if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, that's what I used. So I would recommend that. But no, I use a toner, a serum, and then a moisturizer. And in the daytime you use vitamin A. I use a vitamin A retinol moisturizer.
So like you wake up, do you wash off that night cream and then you put on
Yeah.
the vitamin A?
Yeah, so I wash my face. If I'm in a hurry, I just do it with my what's that stuff called? That micellar water.
Yeah.
I do it with my micellar water, a quick tone, and then I do the serum and the retinol. But if you're wearing retinol, you just have to make sure you wear sunscreen or a hat if you go outside. Just because you're not supposed to. SPF all the way.
I knew it. I knew it.
What do you mean?
Also me, like, Kate. Do you have a favorite like book? I know that you also listen to audiobooks, so you can do audiobook as well.
Ooh, I got one for you. And I've read it almost twice, which is huge for me because
Groundbreaking.
seriously, because audiobooks I've definitely been able to get through a few more, but like reading, I want to be able to read so badly. Like I have books everywhere in each room of my house. A lot of them I haven't read. But I have them because I want to. But I just don't have the time. That's a bad thing to say because you can make time, Jordan. I have not chosen to make time. However, I still have the desire to read physical books. I really like physical books. But a physical book that I have read almost twice, start to finish, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Sorry, that one was an audiobook I read twice. That one was the audio I listened twice. That one. How to Win Friends and by Dale Carnegie. That one I listened to twice. The one I read almost twice. And this one is like equal. No, there is no one that is better than the other. But this one did actually, I would say, alter the way I was going about living life with people. Was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that one my mother recommended to me, by Stephen R. Covey. And those 2 books.
Yeah, those are good. I mean, I've yet to listen to How to Win Friends and Influence People, so that is on my action plan.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
it's very tangible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. That's me to a T. Favorite movie, and I know like there's so many, but just if you had to sort of narrow it down to like 2 or 1.
Okay. I haven't ever like revisited this, so like but back in the day when someone asked me this, it was A Walk to Remember and Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Channing would kill us if we ever suggested that.
Or A Walk to Remember. That's too sad.
No, I know it suggested any of those.
Right, exactly.
She'd go up to her room and put on One True Pill. Um, do you have sort of a tagline, a statement that you live by, or how I've said it before is if you had to, and a lot of people kind of laugh because they're like, that's too deep, that's too much pressure. A statement to put on your tombstone, what would it be?
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, I like that one. And it's true. And enough said.
I can't take credit for it. I didn't make that up. It was Dad that told me that always.
Dad, you know what recently I've been thinking about? WWDD.
D. What would Dad do?
Anyways.
The other one was I'll work as hard as you do. And that came from my motocross days because
oh, cool.
God bless him. He would not help me start my motorbike, kickstart it. He would not.
I spoke about this on one of the
not
episodes.
Help me do a damn thing unless I was there, right there, doing it as hard as I could. Then he would come. Those 2, it was.
He means well.
Pardon me?
I said he means well.
He does. Well, we wouldn't be who we are today if it wasn't for that. So.
Blessed or cursed, it's up to us to decide. No, I'm just joking. What would be your last death row, like your last meal on it?
The first thing that popped into my head was
something a Mexican dish.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Something like with lots of salsa and sour cream and cheese.
Guacamole
and avocado and crunchy taco. Something.
With a nice cold beer or margarita? And then last one, what would be a place on earth, and I know you've been to a lot, that you would actually love to spend like a lot of time in again? India. Any particular reason?
It has just always left if you were to like imprint something. Yeah. It was such a dichotomy, multiple ways, but to my senses. It smelt horrible, but it was so colorful. And the people were generally baseline so happy, and it didn't matter how little or how much they had. Like it smelled it. I just remember one of the rivers was no longer a river, it was just full of garbage. We were driving over a bridge and it was just garbage. It was a canal of garbage. But but the other image is like on that highway there was a family of 5 on a motorbike, and the kids were, like waving and smiling, and just and the colorful saris and flags and buildings, and I also made some really good friends on the ship who were from India. So yeah, India, it just left a little imprint in my somewhere. Yeah.
Cool. I foresee a future where I actually get to visit there, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'll lean on you for some destination touristy advice.
Okay.
Sister, this was a blessing, and I always love chatting with you, but I feel like this opportunity really gave us the chance to dive into topics that we have talking about so many times, but we can just glaze over topics, and I can't emphasize it enough, the impact you've had on my life. So I appreciate it and love you forever and always.
I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. thank you for having me on here. I was a little bit surprised, and it's definitely humbling considering your past guests, I should say, sorry. For me to be somewhere slotted in there is humbling. And I guess I just wanted to just end with, if you're a dancer listening to this, there is never one path. There is never a straight path, and it doesn't have to be what you think it is. Yeah. So don't stress too much about what you think, quote unquote, being a dancer is supposed to be. Let your life be whatever it is, and let dance be your passion. But what I'm trying to say is, don't let it blind you, and don't let it discourage you because of XYZ. Let it actually open more doors for you. And yeah, just remember that it's not just a straight path forward to the end.
Oh, just scream it again from the rooftops, because I couldn't agree more with you. And if anything, both my experience thus far and your career shows that. Period. End of story. So always a blessing. I will chat with you again in the next probably. Yeah, let's do it. I love you. Kiss my nephew, please. Love you, sister. Love you.
That was absolutely incredible and a recording that I will cherish forever. I hope you all enjoyed that one. Next week, I've got on an exciting guest for you all, so please stay tuned. You can catch me at admin@briggsandco.ca. That's my email. Or follow along on the journey on my Instagram at Briggs_and_co. Lots to catch up on if you are new to the podcast. We talk all things entrepreneurship, entertainment, motivation, inspiration, a little bit of comedy here and there, if I may be so bold. It's a good time, and I'm so grateful that you are here listening. Perhaps it's your first time. Perhaps you are a seasoned vet. No matter the case, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to tune in and listen. Please keep leaving average for Joe, y'all. Have a wonderful day.